Hello, 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 sellers. How are you? Come on in, come on in. I'm Kathy, and I love to be selling. What a super topic and hot tip I have for you. And I got this one from watching a financial show. So I'm going to share with you all about it because I was sort of surprised watching this and I went, this is perfect for eBay. So come on in, come on in. And it's a tip that you can use whether you're a newer seller and more experienced seller. It's also a very useful tip regardless of what category you're selling in. And I'm always on the lookout for tips that work for cross category that aren't just specific for eBay Motors or clothing or collectibles, but tips that can work for more than one selling category. So come on in. So, hi, Paula. Great to see you. So, what I was watching was a CNBC financial show. I like to watch Shark Tank reruns. I learn an enormous amount about running a business from watching Shark Tank. Plus, it's very entertaining. Um, and there is another show on CNBC, which is where I catch Shark Tank. It is called Money Court. And the two financial experts that are in Money Court are Bethenny Frankel, who is a millionaire from selling, I believe it's called Skinny Girl cocktails, is her claim to fame. Very, very good. I actually had caught her on Shark Tank as a guest shark. And Kevin O'Leary, who is Mr. Wonderful, very well known on Shark Tank. And he's also a financial expert on CNBC. He's regularly on different shows for them giving tips. And he's a millionaire. He's an entrepreneur. He's an investor. Very, very good. So there's a new show with the two of them, Money Court. And they have people come in, businesses come in. And this was so useful for eBay sellers. It's more for intermediate advanced, but I think it's also very useful for new sellers, depending on what your background is, and also depending on how much inventory you're bringing onto eBay as you're starting to sell on eBay. And certainly, it's information you could use for other platforms. It's just I primarily sell on eBay and coach eBay sellers, so my focus is very much on eBay. So they had a couple come on Money Court. And they had a very successful business. It was something to do with some kind of accessory that you can use for hanging things on the wall. And they had been on Money Court before. I didn't catch the episode. I've got to have to try and find it from reruns. Talking about this invention that they did, which is very successful, and they've made a lot of money, and they're doing very well with it. And it's a husband and wife team. And the wife now has a line of fitness products. There's like a waist thinner. There's some workout weights. She's got some different workout clothes. And she's invested some of the profits from the wall hanging business in her fitness business, which is her business. And she's very passionate about it. Yeah, Paula, it's really fun. I got to tell you, watch Money Court. I'm really enjoying it. Again, and some of the episodes are more applicable to eBay sellers than others, but certainly there's a lot of good information there as far as the questions they're asking about their businesses. That's what you're listening to. What information are they interested in? And then because then they make a judgment after they listen to the situation about the recommendation that they give. And that's what's really interesting. So you can listen to the back and forth and then think about, well, if I was in this situation, what would I be advising? And then it's interesting to watch what Bethenny and Kevin advise. And what's also fun is that you watch the back and forth between the two of them when they're discussing the information that's come out because they have different viewpoints. So anyway, so the wife in the couple, she has this exercise line and she's investing a lot of money in websites. So it's eating up a lot of money right now. And she's also invested a lot of money in inventory. And she wants another, oh man, I'm not exactly sure the exact amount. I'm going to guess it's like around 50,000. It could be as much as $100,000 because she wants to do another upgrade on the website. She's already done a few and some more inventory. And the husband is sticking his heels in saying she's already invested an enormous amount of money in this business. And she has inventory on hand and wants her to focus on selling what she has and then working on upgrading the business. And she's like, no. For me to sell, I need to do these upgrades. So that's what the back and forth is about. She wants to do the upgrades right away. She wants the money from the wall hanging business. He would prefer, he actually wants to take the money from the wall hanging business and start investing it looking to retirement. So it's very interesting about when you're growing a selling business, and this is what got me thinking from eBay, and on the topic of use what you have, is you're investing in inventory, you're investing in the business. When you're looking at doing a big inventory buy, so it might be, and big is going to be different for everybody. So you might go into a thrift store and you normally spend, let's say, 20 or $50, and you see inventory and you want to now spend 200 or $300. It could be that you go to a wholesale show. This happened to me the first wholesale show I went to. And if I remember correctly, one company that I went to, your first purchase had to be $400. And then after that, you could do smaller. Also on the wholesale show, there was one vendor, get this, they wanted your first purchase to be $10,000. I was like, and I said, thank you very much. And I walked away from that one. So that was the back and forth. Was she wanted very much to continue. She felt that the upgrade to her website, she was selling off a website, was going to help her with her business, with the branding, with getting the sales. And the husband very much wanted more investing, looking towards retirement. And so that was the back and forth. And they were it wasn't not amiable between the two of them. It wasn't an enormous amount of strife. It was just, she was really passionate about wanting the upgrade now. She was clearly very much a sort of jump out and go girl. And he was more cautious. So it was interesting. So then, Bethenny and Kevin go off to chat about this. And very much it was about that clearly she's very passionate. This is something she really loves. They felt that, yes, what she has is marketable. So it wasn't a situation of, that you're trying to market something or sell something that's not going to sell. That's a different scenario. But was it wise right now to put more money into this or focus more on selling what she had on hand? And what their recommendation to the couple was, she had, if I remember correctly, it was 75,000. If she sold the inventory she had on hand, it would create $75,000. That's how much inventory she had on hand, if I remember the number correctly. And so their recommendation was sell what you have, use what you have. And that even if she sells like the first 25 or the first 50, and then as you sell, obviously you're going to take money and you're going to put it into buying more inventory, and then also take it and put it on the side, because she was very passionate about her website. Something that we as eBay sellers don't deal with, but perhaps I want money for hiring a graphic artist for some of my social media, or perhaps I want to put some money aside. I've been using the free Canva and I want to upgrade to the Canva Pro, which is not a big investment. If I remember correctly, it's like $15, $20 a month, but I'm going to, that's going to become a regular bill now for me, is Canva Pro. It could be social media schedulers. It could be, I don't have an eBay store. Now I'm going to have an eBay store, whatever it is. But their recommendation was, as you sell your inventory, that a certain amount of money, obviously you're reinvesting in more inventory, and then a certain amount of money you put on the side for the upgrade that you want. And that's what my recommendation was. And it's how I've grown my business. And when I work with sellers, it's what I recommend. And certainly everybody's business is your own, and you get to run it how you see fit. And if you're in a relationship with somebody and they are a part of your eBay business, you're going to be consulting them too and talking to them. And I remember this. I remember when I started selling on eBay, gosh, it's like 18 years ago. I started with selling from around my home. And I do recommend for people that are starting to sell online that that's the best way to start. And that's what I love about selling on eBay, is you really don't need any money up front. A lot of businesses, that is not true. Like, for instance, here in New York City, if I wanted to start selling and I wanted to have a brick and mortar retail, I would have to come up with the rent and the deposit on the store. There's insurance involved that I would need to have for the store. And then things like the racks and everything to show everything off. Am I looking at getting employees? I mean, there's a lot involved. And with eBay, literally open your closet. What are great items that you no longer wear or use, and look at your toys and look at your games and look at your sporting equipment. Go in your kitchen. Kitchen is great. Are there pots and pans and containers and all kinds of wonderful kitchen gadgets that you don't use? You can go and check it out on eBay to see what you're going to be getting, and go through your books. I've sold some books recently. It's so interesting. We're such a digital world, and people love books. sold some books recently, so that was great. And I've done well with books, by the way, so don't overlook books. Um, and then so I sold like in my initial things that I was selling on eBay, maybe 2 or 3 months worth. And from that, again, put aside money for your eBay fees, especially when you're new to selling. That can be a little bit of a sticker shock because you'll sell $50 worth or $100, and you'll take that 100, right? And you may have plans for it, and make sure that the plans include looking at your eBay account and knowing what that monthly bill is. So it's sort of like when you're paying the mortgage at the end of the month or your electricity, that it's not a rude awakening. And then I call it my stash. In fact, my husband knows it. My grandson knows it. Grandma's stash, Kathy's stash. I would put a certain amount aside. That was for new inventory. It was also for improvements on my business. And that's what I wanted to say from watching this Money Court episode, is that yes, it's inventory, but there'll be times when it's time to open a store. It's time to upgrade the store. It's time to get a fancier printer. It's time to get a more expensive label printer or a more expensive scale. Time to take a course. Time to hire a coach. And what's great is if you keep putting aside money every month, so I've got that money aside for my inventory. And then when you do have an opportunity, I was just looking at a seller where sometimes people will decide they retire from their eBay selling and they will sell all their inventory. So you're talking hundreds of items. Sometimes it'll be local, like an eBay friend that's a local friend. So you just drive over and fill up your car several times. I've bought, there was a friend that was going out of business who sold costume patterns. I bought hundreds of costume patterns and did really, really well. Is to always be putting something on the side. Then when you have a certain amount, 50, 100, 150, whatever it is, you look around. It could be, I remember when I went out and bought my first floor to ceiling, really sturdy shelving racks. It was Home Depot. Actually, my husband did the research and he said, you're going to go to Home Depot and these are the ones you're going to get because they're the best bet for you. And I went and spent money on really good shelving, which has stood me in great stead. So that's what I wanted to say is use what you have. And if you have a lot of inventory and it's not moving, remember that is cash that you're looking at. And it is very tempting to keep shopping. And I'm not saying don't. In fact, very good friends of mine that are wonderful collectible sellers say, and I was having this conversation with them. I was like, do you keep shopping even if you've got a bunch of inventory and perhaps you're going through a slow period? And they said, yes, but they're very selective about what they buy. So they really look at things that are going to have a really big margin, which means you make a lot of money on it, or they know typically sells pretty quickly, like it won't be around too long. But when you're doing that, when you have a lot of on-hand inventory, and you're continuing to shop, which is more my medium or larger sellers, you're really watching what your bottom line is, which is how fast things are selling, what things are selling, so that you keep your business profitable. And then as you're selling, always putting something on the side, I just think is the wisest thing. And I've heard it so many financial tip shows, so many financial shows for businesses of all sizes, is that money is on the side for inventory. They're going to be buying trucks and cars and all kinds of things. We're buying printers and shelving and inventory, classes. I'm big on education because there's always things to learn. So I encourage you, use what you have. And if you're looking at your inventory and it's not moving as quickly as you think it should be, and there is an ebb and flow to e-commerce. If you follow me on YouTube and I'm on my podcast, you'll listen to me talk about that. And this is true for all businesses. Okay. So if you walk into Macy's or Nordstrom's, there's always a sales section. There's always a clearance rack. Why? Because they're moving inventory. They want the cash. They want the cash flow. One thing I learned, if you're watching Shark Tank, they'll always say, how much on-hand inventory? How much money do you have in the bank? Is how can I move this? It could be, if you have an eBay store, run a sale. If you don't have a store, you're what's called a consumer seller, which is great. Yay for you selling on eBay. Look at it. It could be that when you listed that blue pen, the blue pens were going for $12.99. Well, some other people discovered how wonderful blue pens are, and now you've got competition. There's blue pens for $9.99. And if you just mark your pen down a few dollars, and you don't need a sale to do that, you can just go in and revise the price. Boom, the pen is selling. It's like, yay. So just keep an eye on that. Like if you've listed stuff, you did the research, it looked like, you checked solds. We all have Terapeak now. It had a good sell-through rate, but then it's sort of going a little slow. Is take a look at it because you might have competition. And don't forget, you can always run auctions. Most items people list as buy it nows, which means immediate payment because people like to buy things right away. But auctions can be very successful too. So don't forget about auctions. A consumer seller, you have auctions or fixed price. With a store, take a look at what categories, if I remember correctly, it's clothing and collectibles, that you have free auctions. Otherwise, you're going to be paying. But auctions can be a great way to move things. So keep an eye on that. Running sales, marking the prices down, doing a bundle. I just had a friend do that. She just bundled up a bunch of things and got a nice price on it. So sometimes that can work where the item by itself might be $6.99 or $9.99, and it's just sitting there. And if you take it and bundle it with similar items, like with a pen, maybe I do the pen with a journal with a pretty bookmark, and then it sells. Okay, so keep an eye on that. But use what you have. What do I have inventory wise? Also for storage space. I know for myself, I used to have a storage unit. I decided not to do a storage unit. Now I know for some people, they're like, oh, for me, it was time. It was, I actually got a really good price on my storage unit for New York City. It was a really good price, but it was a half an hour to the storage unit and half an hour back. And I didn't want to set up there. I know some people in their storage units, they set up to print their labels there and everything. And I just didn't want to do that. So it was half an hour to go there, pick up the items and then schlep it back. And for me, it was just the time wasn't worth it. So what I did was I looked at the space that I have. I have a spare bedroom in my New York City apartment and I reconfigured it. How can I store things shelving wise, closet wise? So you got to look at, are you going to be storing it horizontal or are you going to store it vertical? What's better, clothing racks or bins? I've got very deep windowsills. Okay. So I could do shelves on my windowsills and do a certain amount of storage there. I literally have floor to ceiling shelves on the two walls in my spare bedroom where I can store stuff. And then I have a closet and I have stuff racked. So you look at how can I store things most efficiently? And again, do you have more vertical space, more horizontal space? If you do clothing, are you better on racks? Or are you better in bins? And you'd be surprised if you just take that half an hour, and sometimes you get like somebody else to come in, like a friend to come in and take a look at the space with you. Grab your spouse, grab your partner, get them to look at the space, because it's great when you get another set of eyes to look at it. Like if Paula was nearby, I'd be like, Paula, come over and look at my space. And Paula would be saying to me, Kathy, come over and look at my space. And you go, if you did this, this, and this, you could fit that over there, and be like, that's fantastic. I just redid a corner of my space where I had some, it was like computer bags. And it was like, I have too many computer bags. So it was like, I rearranged that. And they're gorgeous. I gave one to a friend. I'm probably going to end up selling one. And I reconfigured the space so that corner now is a better use of space. Don't forget things like I have a standing wardrobe that is storage. It has space underneath it. So I can put bins underneath it with storage. Okay. So just think about all the places where you can store things. And then what I do is in the SKU field or custom label field on my eBay listing, which only you see, by the way, your customer does not see, I put where it is. Especially when you reorganize. It's very, very dangerous time for eBay sellers. Make sure you put where it is in that custom label field, unless, for instance, like I'm going to say something like, let's say dresses. Let's say I have one closet that all the dresses go into and they are racked by size. Then I know all my dresses are there. They're not anywhere else. So I may not need to put it in the custom label field because there's a section of my storage area that only has dresses. They always go there. You might have a mug shelf. Oftentimes people do that. The mugs are all on the shelf. Is that something like that? You may not need the SKU field for the location because you know all the mugs go there, all the dresses go there. It's not necessarily a bin or a shelf system, but use what you have. At times we get sort of the shiny object syndrome. I know I do. It's just like, it's just like I need a change. I want to change. And sometimes you know what the change is? Rearrange my inventory, organize it better, rearrange how it's done. I feel refreshed. I'm like, oh, because it looks different. It's cleaner. It's more organized. It has a flow that I like. My shipping area, I'll reorganize that so it's got a better flow to that. And then I'm like, oh, and I've sort of gotten my yayas out for something new. And I'm using what I have, my shipping area, but now it flows better. My inventory area, but it makes more sense. My inventory, I've rejiggered it, reconfigured it, and it starts to sell because I've made some really cool bundles. I've knocked the price down a little bit. And what's nice sometimes when you're doing that, you find, whoa, the blue pens, the price has gone up. I'm not going to give this away. And you mark it up a few dollars and it'll sell. It's like, yay. So use what you have, eBay seller. Use your inventory, use your storage space. And then as you're selling too, always put that little money on the side, your stash. That's your inventory money from when you just get like a killer deal. Actually, a friend of mine was telling me about this where this was for a florist. A florist friend of his actually bought like 500 baskets because they were so discounted, like 25 cents a piece or something, and used those. And they were gorgeous. Somebody was doing a killer closeout. Use those beautiful baskets and with his flowers made gorgeous, gorgeous bouquets that he ended up selling for $60. And what he shared with my friend, who's a photographer who worked with him, is he said the key to success for his business, he said, is the buying. And isn't that true for eBay sellers too? It's the buying, because then you've got good margins, healthy margins for your business. And like the woman in Money Cart is, she had that inventory. She had bought that inventory. Sell it. Make the money. Use that money for the upgrade you want and for the inventory you want. Sometimes we start running so fast and acquiring stuff so fast and we forget what we have. And we forget to sell, not forget, but put the focus on selling what we have and using those finances for ourselves, okay, for our business, for bills that we have, and also to invest in our business, whatever that next step is for you. Now, I've got great free tips for you. I'm going to date this. This is January 23rd, and Valentine's Day is around the corner. And you might be thinking, oh, Kathy, I really don't have things that are Valentine's Day items, because for you, a Valentine's Day item might be chocolate or flowers, like what I was talking about. But there's an enormous amount of variety of items that are Valentine's Day items. So hop over to my website, ilovetobeselling.com, and grab my free guide. It's Valentine's Day eBay inventory you didn't know you had free guide. It's pages of things. Valentine's Day is a multi-billion-dollar retail event. That means there is a huge variety of things that are bought by people as Valentine's Day gifts. So it's a great way to grab the guide. It's free. And then you look at what you have on hand, or perhaps look at things that you haven't listed yet. And by going through the guide, you go, that's a great Valentine's Day item, and you get it listed. And if you're on social, you'll be sharing it on social media. So be sure to grab that, okay? And use what you have, eBay seller. It's a huge success. If Bethenny Frankel and Kevin O'Leary are advising people on a financial channel like CNBC to use what they have for financial success, we can too. I'm Kathy, and I love to be selling. Bye-bye, everybody.